Hello, my friends. You are highly welcome to my channel. My name is Mr. Navbar, and in today's tutorial, we are going to be creating the best real estate website on YouTube. This real estate website is fully animated. It has cool transition effect, and it is also responsive, thereby fitting into different screen sizes. I will now take you on a demo so that you will see what to expect in this project. First, when we refresh, the header comes out with smooth transition effect. And over here we have counter that begins to count immediately the page loads. Now let's scroll to the About section, and as you can see, when you scroll to the About section, all the element comes out with smooth transition effect, which is to say, this application animates on scroll. And as you can see, when we hover over each of these cards, there is a transformation with smooth transition. Now here is our services section. Look at the cool transition effect when we hover each of the card. Here is the properties section. And this is cool, guys. Very sleek and very professional. Also, this is our agents section. You can add custom links and features and names of agents. You can go to the previous and also go to the next by clicking on these two buttons. Now here is the testimonials section. And we can grab the scroll, or we use the button at the right bottom side to go to the next and the previous. Now here is the contractors section. As you can see, the cool transition effect. And this is professional approach of building an application. I'll advise you that you watch this video to the end to gain some knowledge on how to build futuristic UI. If you are watching this video to this extent and you have not subscribed to my channel, I would advise that you do so now, because in this channel I teach you the best approach to developing web application for free. You don't have to pay for that. All you have to do is to subscribe to the channel and click on the notification icon so that whenever I release a new video, you will be the first to get notified. Also, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and write your comment on the comment section. Guys, please do this for me, because giving this video a thumbs up and writing your comment will contribute a lot to the success of this project video. And as you do that, God bless. Let's take a look at the responsiveness of this project. As you can see, it is mobile responsive, and it will also fit into tablet perfectly well. As you can see, every section of this project is very responsive, and it fits very well into a mobile device. So this is really responsive. Look at the sidebar. Whenever we click to the sidebar, we'll be taken to the section that corresponds to the tab we clicked on the sidebar. And this is awesome, guys. This is awesome. This project is very simple to follow in as far as you have basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or not. I'll be taking this every step in this project step by step. It's not going to be complex. It's going to be simple and easy for everyone to understand. And let's get started. To get started, we need to create a root folder where all our files will live in. So let's click on open folder, and we can just select anywhere here and create a folder called release, and let's open it as our root folder. So now that it is open, let's open a new terminal. Now we have a boilerplate for this project. I'll be placing the link on the description section so that you can access it. So let's open it here. This boilerplate contains the images and the basic setup we'll be needing in this project. It contains the structured data we're going to be using for the different components we're going to be creating. It also contains the package.json file that carries the same versions of dependencies that are used in building this project. So you can download the zip file, or if you have Git installed in your computer, you can copy the link and come over to your terminal and use git clone command and paste the link you copied and click on enter to clone it. As you can see, it has been cloned. And look at the folder, the clone folder. So we want our files to be direct children of release. So let's highlight them. Let's highlight from here to the end, and let's move it to release. Let's just drag it and let's drop it outside. So as you can see, it is moving back to release. And let's click on move. Now, if you take a look at our clone folder, it is empty. Now let's go ahead and delete it because we don't need it anymore. Now let's take a look at what we have here. So within SRC folder, the first folder here there is asset folder. This contains all the images we're going to be making use of in the project. Now the second file is app.js. As you can see, it just contains basic component structure and with some text. So the next is index.css. As you can see, just have CSS variable declaration that we're going to be using in the project. And next one is main.js. As you can see here, we have imported app.js and rendered it to the root. Also, we imported index.css, which means anything within app.js will be visible to the application. Also, anything I write within index.css will be visible to the whole application. Next file is sources.js. We can call this file the data warehouse of this application because it contains all the data we're going to be using in the different sections in this application. For every section, it has the data that we're going to be making use of. This will help us save time and also will make this video not to be too long. So I'll just scroll and show you the different section, and as I show you each section, I'll just squeeze it. So this is the footer section. Now let's go to index.html. So we have added a background color here so that when the application is refreshing, it will use this dark background color. And also let's change the title. You can change it to whatever you wish to change it to. Also, this is the root where the application is being rendered on. Now let's take a look at the package.json file. So this contains look at the dependencies we're going to be making use of in this project. So let's install it by using npm install. Please make sure you make use of this boilerplate so that you can make use of the same version of dependencies that are used. So as you can see, it has been installed and a node module folder has been added. Now let's run the application using npm run dev. So this will generate a link for us. Let's copy the link and let's paste it here on the browser. You can see everything is dark and there's a text here. Let's change the color of that text. Let's change it to white so that we can see it clearly. Can you see it? Now, before we start creating components, let's write our general styles, general CSS styles, and that will be done within index.css. The reason why we need to write it first is because the style we write here, we're going to be making use of it while we are creating components. So we cannot create components without writing the general styles because we'll be using the general styles while creating components. So before we start writing the style, let's go to fonts.google.com. So here we're going to search for a font called Poppin. Poppin. Here is it. Let's click on remove font and let's click on get fonts again and get embed code. Now before we get the code, let's make sure this is on web guys and go to add import. But first of all, let's do some configuration. So let's select the one we want. Light, semi bold, and bold. So this, let's click here to get the link and let's paste it here. So this is a link to the font we're using and the name of the font is called Poppin. Now let's write the general styles. So first of all, we use universal selector, box size and border box. Text decoration, none. Let's select HTML and body. We give it a minimum height of 100 VH. VH stands for viewport height, which means it will take the height of the browser screen. So we will use Poppins as our font, but if Poppin is not available, we'll make use of sans serif. Scroll bar color. Let's use the primary color, then transparent. Let's go ahead and select only the body. So overflow hidden, but overflow Y, which is overflow in the vertical axis, should be auto. We should have a max width of 1800 and a margin of 40. So our paragraph should have a font size of 14 pixels. Now, let's say the anchor tag should have a color of foreground. Also, text decoration should be known because by default, an anchor tag has an underline. So using text decoration none will remove that underline. As you all know, in HTML, we have from heading 1 to heading 6. So we're going to give heading 1 to 6 font weight of 500. Now our image, we want to make sure that it fits the container we place it in perfectly. So this code I'm writing now will make our image to fit perfectly. Remember again that all the code we're writing here is called general styles, which means we are going to be using this code when we create components. By that way, we will write less code and creating components will be easier for us. For example, this gradient text class I just created here will be used in different places. And any element that I place this gradient text class in, it means the text within it, we have the gradient color that I created here. So it's just as simple as that. So muted, now any element I place muted on, we have this color that I've specified here. Now our wrapper should have a max width of 1150 pixels. Padding top and bottom should be 70 pixels. Left and right should be 20 pixels. Now we're creating this flex class. So it means any element we place flex on will be displayed flex. Also flex center, if we want to center an item within an element, then it means we need to place flex center on the element that contains that item. Now our icon container, we'll make sure that we give it the same width and height so that we can be able to create a perfect cycle. So change it to min, max, and max. By that way, it will not shrink. It will always maintain the same width and height. And let's make the border radius 400%. And let's give it a background of BG muted. Font size of 20 pixels and color. Let's use a muted foreground. Transition, then we pass the transition variable. Now on hover of our icon, first let's change the background color, and we are going to also change the color of the text to foreground. And let's transform it by scaling it to 1.1 so that it will like zoom in. Next is the btn class. So this btn class will be used when we are creating a button. So we just have to create it now so that we can use it whenever we want to create a button. Since we have many buttons to create, so it's a good idea to create this class here and use it when creating the different menu buttons we're going to be creating. Color, let's give it a foreground, and cursor pointer. Let's remove this background because we don't need it. Now, when an element have a class name of btn and at the same time have a class name of primary, we need to give it different background so that it will look a little bit different. It's still a button, but it has a different background. Now, clamp 2, this class will be used to make sure that text will not exceed more than 2 lines. All right. So we immediately the text, we write a long text and it wrap to the next line. At the end of that next line, which is the second line, it will just use 3 dots to replace the remaining text. Now let's write some responsive code because we need to make this general style responsive. So at max width of 900 pixels, let's change the font size of our heading 1 to 45 pixels, and let's copy this. Also, let's change this to 600 pixels. Now, our heading 1, let's reduce the font size again to 25 pixels. Okay, so this is our general style. Now let's take a look at the browser. As you can see here, there are no much differences. Now let's close this file. Now let's start creating our component. But first, let's create component folder. The first component we're going to create is called Navbar. Now let's create the index.js within our navbar and also navbar.css. Let's head back to the index.js and let's create a navbar component using arrow function. Now we need to import the navbar.css into this component. Now let's just write navbar here and let's go back to our app.js. Remember, anything we place here will be shown to the browser. So we're going to be adding our navbar in this component. But after importing it, let's just clear this one away and let's add the navbar here. Now let's take a look at it on the browser. As you can see, navbar has been added, and this is the text I wrote within navbar component. Now let's create all the components we need. So the next component will be hero. Let's create index.js within our hero folder and also hero.css. Now let's create hero component and let's import hero.css into this component. Let's write hero here, and again let's import our hero component into app.js. Make sure you trace the address very well. So we add it immediately after Navbar. Now let's go ahead and create the next component, which is about. As usual, we'll create the index.js and also about.css. We'll write about here and we go to app.js, we import about component and we add it after hero. Next component is services. So we'll create index.js within services folder and we create services.css. As you can see, we are creating a CSS file for every component we create. So this is so that we write a style that only focus on a particular component, and that will make our work easier. Now let's create the next component called properties. So we create two files and we go to the index.js of our properties. We create the component and we import the properties.css. Let's write properties here and let's go to app.js. We import properties component and we add it after services. Next component is agents. So we'll create index.js for agents component and also agents.css. Now let's create the agent component using React arrow function and let's import agent.css into our agent component. Now let's import agents here, which is app.js, and let's add it after properties. Let's close these two files and let's go ahead and create the next component, which is client. So in this client component that we're creating right now, we're going to be outputting the user's testimonials. So let's create the component and let's import clients.css. And in our app.js, we import it and we add it after agents. Now let's go ahead and create the next component, which is contact. So as usual, we create the index.js and contact.css. Then we create our component and we import contact.css. I just write contact here. We import it in app.js and we add it after client. Next, the last component is footer. So we create the index.js and we create footer.css. We create the component and we import our footer.css. Then we import the footer in app.js and it will be the last component we add into app.js. So as you can see, we are done creating components, but we didn't write some text in agents. So let's just write agents here. Also, we did not write any text within client. So this is it. We'll be taking them one after the other, starting from Navbar. So let's close all the files except app.js, and let's open Navbar. So here we are going to open the CSS also, and let's start by changing this to nav and also nav. Let's give it a class name, Navbar, and also flex. You see, we're now making use of the class we created in the general styles. So since the general styles is imported within main.js, it means it is global to our application. And it being global, it means whenever we use any class created in index.js in any component, that class will be active, it will function. Let's import tabs from sources file, which is our data warehouse. So we're going to be looping the tabs. Look at the tabs here. It has a name and ID. So we're going to be looping through it. So the ID that this tabs contains must be the same with the IDs of the different sections we're creating, so that when a user clicks on a tab, it will take the user to the section that has that ID. So we're using React Scroll to implement this, our tab. We're using React Scroll to implement our tabs. To learn more about React Scroll package, you can search for it on npm JS to read more about it, to read the documentation and see the different prompts that it takes and the different examples of it. So giving this a key is very important since it's in a loop. So here, let's create two buttons using the link component we imported from the React Scroll. So this button will be for services. It means when we click on it, it will take us to services. BTN. Now let's copy and paste again. Let's change this to contact. So this contact I wrote here, it means when I'm creating contact component, I must give it an ID of contact so that when the user clicks on this button, it will scroll to the contact section. So look at how it looks like. Uh, let's let's create something here. Icon wrapper. We're going to be adding a menu btn. So let's use this icon called hi menu. We're going to import this icon from React icon. All right. So if you want to search different icons, or you want to make use of different icons, you can search for React icon on Google, and you go to the website and get more icons. Search for more icons that you want to make use of. So, but for me, this is the icon I'm using for the menu. All right. So, um, let's go back and write some styles for our navbar. So we start by selecting navbar class. Give it a padding top and bottom of 10 pixels, and padding left and right is 20 pixels. We want to stretch the items and justify the content of space between. Let's give it a background of BG secondary and give it a border button of solid 0.5 pixel. You can write 0.5 or just write 0.5 pixels, is the same. So let's position it to the sticky and top 0. Okay, Z index should be 100. So this Z index should be very high than any other Z index we're going to be making use of. So for the tabs, just make it border radius should be 10 pixel. Color metered foreground. Transition, we pass our transition variable, and cursor should be pointer. So on hover of the tab, first, let's change the color to foreground. And next, let's go to when this tab is active, we change the border color to border primary. We change the background color also to BG accent. And let's select the buttons, give it a gap of 20 pixels. And let's take a look at it. So this is how it looks like currently. As you can see, we need to create a component called logo. So let's create a folder called commons. Alright. So inside this folder, we're going to create logo component. So any component that we're going to be reusing more than one time, so we're going to be creating them within commons. So let's import logo.css here, and let's go ahead and give it a class name of logo. And we're going to be using React icon as our logo. So let's import the icon we want to make use of, which is MD real estate agent. And let's give it a class name of icon. And also let's use H1 and let's write within it release. Now let's write some CSS for our logo. So we'll display it to reflect, we'll align the items to center, and we give it a little bit gap of 10 pixels. Now let's type the icon. Let's change the font size, let it be bigger, and let's give it a color of primary accent. And let's go ahead to our Navbar and import the logo. We're importing the logo right now. Common, then logo. And before the first box, we add the logo. Now let's take a look at it on the browser. Let's take a look at it. This is how it currently looks like. Let's go back to the code and let's close logo files. And next, we are going to create another component called social handles within our commons folder. So the reason why we're creating these social handles within our commons folder is because we're going to be reusing it in more than one place. We're not going to just be using it in one place. All right. So let's create social handles.css and let's go to its index.js. Let's create social handles component, and within this component we're going to import the social handles.css. Now let's go ahead and give it a class name of handles container. Now let's import social handles from our sources file. So we're going to be looping through the social handles. You can open sources file to take a look at how we structured our social handles data. So, but I'll just go straight and loop through it here. So within our social handle data, we have link view. So we're adding target blank so that when a user clicks on this link, it will open in a new tab. Also, let's give it a key since it is in a loop. React JS needs to differentiate Then now let's write some CSS code for this. So we'll select our handles container. We don't have much code to write here. So we'll just display it first. We'll make sure the item is aligned center. And we'll give it a gap of 10%. That is all. Now let's go back to our navbar and import social handles component. And we're going to add it right before the second box, which is here. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, we have successfully added it. Now, the next thing we need to do right now is that we need to uh, make this responsive and also convert our tabs group to a sidebar. So I will just create this state, open sidebar, and state open sidebar. We use state and we give it a value of false. All right. So here now, let me copy this and we are going to use backtick and in order for we to be able to write JavaScript. So if open sidebar is true, we're going to add a class of visible here. And if it is not true, we're not going to add any class. Now, here, I am going to use on click. When the user click on the menu, I'll make sure that I will switch the value of open sidebar from being true to false. So which you see what you're doing here, we're using not open sidebar, which means if open sidebar is true, it will revert to false. And if it is false, it will revert to true. So also here, if open sidebar it is true, well, we want to add an overlay. And when the user, we need to also add on click to the overlay so that when the user clicks on the overlay, the sidebar can, if it is true, it will turn to false. And therefore the sidebar will hide. Now let's write the CSS code. And we need to write this on a what they call on a media query. But first of all, we need to hide those menu button. We need to add I hide it on desktop because we don't want to show it on desktop. Also, let's write a code for our overlay. We'll position it fixed. Uh, we gave it, you see, we gave it a Z index that is higher than the navbar. Remember, we gave navbar a Z index of 100. But here now, because we want the overlay to be on top of the navbar, we are giving it a Z index of 110. And also we give it a background that is dark and a little bit transparent. So now let's write the responsive code. So at max weight of let's say 1210 pixel. Let's switch to responsive mode. Let's see if we let's measure this very well. First, we need to hide this service button, and also we need to hide the handles container. First of all, let's hide the handles container by displaying it to none. See, it is displayed none. Now, secondly, we need to target the service BTN and hide it. So let's just copy this and paste. Let's change this to 1050 pixel. Now we target the service BTN and we display it to none. Can you see that? It only appears when there is enough space for it to fit in. Now the next thing, let's change this to 930 pixel. By then we need to convert our nav tabs, which also has a class name of sidebar. We need to convert it to a sidebar. So by positioning it to fix, and we give it a left of minus 100% so that it will clear away from the browser view. We only show it uh when open sidebar it is true. We will show it. We will just slide it in. So also you see we give it a Z index of 150, which is above the Z index of our overlay and also the Z index of our navbar. The reason why we're giving it the highest Z index is because we want it to be on top of the overlay, and the overlay is also on top of the navbar. So we'll give it a transition of transition. Now we're going to say if the sidebar also contains a class name of visible, we'll just give it a left of 0. By that way, the offset from the left will be 0 and it will appear. It will slide from the left to the right. Can you see that? This is awesome, guys. So we need to uh, align this very well. Can you see that? Now, let's add this on click. Let's add it here so that when the user clicks on any of these items, it will hide. Also, this contact button need to hide at some point. As you can see, it's overflowing over there. So let's say at 400 pixel, we target the contact btn and we display it in none. All right. So you see, it will only appear when there is enough space for it to be there. So this is how responsive design is being done. We are now done with Navbar. So let's close it and open our hero. So let's start by changing this to header. Let's give it an ID of hero. Also, we're going to create a wrapper, and within the wrapper, we'll create 2 columns. So within the first column, we are going to create heading 1, and let's write something here, but within the span that has a class name of gradient text, so that the text written within here will be having a gradient color. Next, p.metered. So just write lorem in your VS Code if you are using VS Code. By writing lorem and clicking on enter, VS Code will generate lorem ipsum text for you. Also, let's create buttons wrapper. So within here, we're going to create 2 buttons using link component, and we need to import this link component. We need to import it, but then let's just write some little code. So let's import it first so that we don't have errors. We'll not forget. So let's say smooth true. The reason why we're saying smooth true is so that when we click on it and it wants to scroll to contact, it will use smooth transition. If you did not specify smooth through, it will just go there straight without it using any smooth transition. Explore properties. And in our second column, we are going to add an image, and it will be our hero image. So here in our asset folder, we have released hero. So we need to import it here. So we can give it any name we wish, but when tracing the address of the image, we need to be very careful not to make mistake. So it is within assets folder, and the name and the extension of the file we are looking for, the image we are looking for must be correct. So as you can see, the extension is .png. Now let's copy the name and let's paste it here within the curly brace. And let's give it a class of hero image. Now let's go ahead and take a look at it on the browser. So this is how it looks like. Now let's write some styles. Let's open the CSS file, hero.css. So let's select hero. This is an ID, so we're going to start with an hash. And we select the wrapper, we display it to be grid. We use grid template column, then auto and 500 pixel. which means the first column, the weight will be auto, while the second column, which contains our image, the weight will be 500 pixels. So our buttons wrapper will justify the contents to flex start, and our margin top should be 40 pixels. Now the hero image, let's position it to be relative, and we're going to add a before pseudo class to it. Content, nothing will be there, and we position it to be absolute, and we're going to give it a bottom of 0 and left of 0. Also, width should be 100% and height should be 50 pixels. Now we're going to give it a background of linear gradient to bottom. So the first thing is transparent, and let's use BG primary as the second color. So let's refresh and see. This thing is not effective, it's not working. What's the problem? Okay, we see hero image, um, hero image. Okay, two, right? Okay, as you can see now, the bottom of the building is somehow light dark. This makes sense. So let's make it responsive. As you can see, it is not responsive. So now let's use media query. 1100 pixel. We'll select our wrapper and we'll give it a grid template column of auto 500. And also let's go again at 1000 pixel. Let's still select our wrapper. This time we'll give it a grid template column of auto, let's say 300. Let's select, let's use another media query. So at this time at 900 pixel, we'll still select it, but at 900 pixel, let's make sure that our grid template column will be 100%. Also, if you take a look at the top, I use universal selector after wrapper. This is to make sure that every element in within wrapper we have text align of center. So such as our heading one, our method, our class, or that is everything we have a text align of center. And as you can see, all the text is aligned at the center. And also our buttons is also aligned at the center. All right. So we are done with this section. Uh, but let's give this to the gap of 20 pixel. That is our buttons. Also, uh, this let's create another component called achievement. Let's create achievement.css, and let's import achievement.css to the component. Now let's just write achievement here, and let's go back to our hero and we import achievement, and we're going to add it right within the first column before the buttons wrapper. Initiate achievement. Now let's go back to achievements. Let's just close and let's write class name. Let's see achievement container. So within here, we're going to be creating about 3 cards. So we're just going to create the first card and we copy it and duplicate it and edit in order to get the remaining cards. So we're going to be using this icon. Let's import it from React icon, FA user line. And let's say flex center. Now let's import odometer from React odometer JS. So React odometer JS is one of the dependencies that we have installed already. You can read more about it by going to its documentation on npm JS. So we are going to pass the value props and also the class name of title. So let's say small dot muted. Let's just write happy customers here. And let's create a state called client. And let's state client. Let's import use state from React. And let's set it to 0. So we are going to pass client in here. Later on, we're going to be increasing the value of client. So this is where our card ends. So we're going to be copying this card. Let's copy it and edit it to get the second card. Let's paste it down here. Now let's change the icon to FA building. So as you can see, it has been imported. Now let's clear off client here. Let's write K plus and let's write properties. Also, we need to copy this and add it to this first one since I forget to add it at the first time. So that first one is just plus. So now let's create properties here. And let's say state properties. And let's copy it and paste as the value of our odometer. Now let's copy it and paste again in order to get the third card. Let's clear up this and change the icon. FA award. Let's say award winning. Awards winning. And let's just add a plus. Now let's say awards. State awards. Now let's paste awards here. And I think we are done with this markup. We are going to uh, increase the values of all these state we created after after a timeout. So we're going to be writing this code within our user field. So let's create timeout ID and let's use set timeout function. We're going to set it to 3000. So after a timeout of 3000, the function I write here will execute. So we're going to change the value of set client to 350 and also the value of set properties. Let's change it to 25. And the value of awards, let's change it to 9. And also we need to clear the memory. We need to clear the interval, the timeout by doing this. So let's take a look. As you can see, this thing doesn't really make sense. And that is because we have not added our styles. So let's go ahead and add our styles. But before we start writing any style, first of all, let's grab the themes for our React odometer JS. So just search for it, and here is the npm documentation. So, or you can read about this, but this is what we want. We want to get the official themes by clicking there, and here is the different themes of odometer. The one we want is default. Let's click on it, and this will show us the CSS codes. So let's highlight and copy it and let's paste it down here. Now this starts with stars. We don't want it. Let's just delete them. Let's add some of the missing code like this backdrop visibility and transform. That way our file will not display with warnings. So if we refresh this right now, you see that it will start counting. Can you see that? So let's write CSS for achievements container. First, let's display it to the grid, and we give it a grid template column of repeat 3 1 fr. So that one fr stands for one fraction of achievement container. So it will be divided into 3 columns. So and each of those cards will take one of the columns. So every card should have a weight of 100%, a padding of 20 pixels, and a background of BG accent. Solid 0.5 pixel border primary. A transition, let's add our transition variable in a gap of 10 pixels. Now on hover of our card, let's give it a border color of border secondary. And take a look at it, guys. Let's remove the border color. I think this is better. Now let's go back to CSS and let's transform this, and let's scale it to 1.1. Also, let's change, uh, let's remove this transparent and let's give it another background of BG secondary. And I think this is better. Now, on hover of our card, our card contains an icon wrapper. So let's transform the icon wrapper also to one. We scale it to 1.1. Change the color to foreground. Now, the title within our card, let's give it a font size of 20 pixels, and also let's give it a font weight of 700. Also, the small, we display it block and give it a margin top of 7 pixels. Now, we have to make this responsive. So, responsive code. Now, at media, max width of 700 pixels. Let's select our achievement container. Let's give it a grid template, a gap of 10 pixels. And also, let's select the card, the font size 12 pixels. Now, also, let's break this more down. When we're at 600, max width of 600, we're going to give this a grid template columns of repeat to one fraction. And for the third card, we're going to give it a grid column. We want it to span 2 columns so that it will start from the beginning to the end. So also plus direction column for details. So this is how it looks right now. And this makes a lot of sense, guys. It makes sense. And I think we are done with our header. with our achievement, the achievement section, let's go to index.css. And here, let's change the line height. Let's reduce it because it's too much. Also, let's reduce this one to 30 pixel. All right. By that way, our heading 1 maintains a proper line height. So we are done with our hero section. Later on, we're going to be coming back to animate it. But for now, we're not animating any component for now. It's at the ending of this video, then we come back and animate it. So here in our about, that's the next section we're going to be working on, about section. So here, let's start by uh, changing this to section and also close this section. Let's give it an ID of about. Remember, the ID we give to this component we are creating must be the same with the ID we use on our tab for about, so that when a user clicks on the tab, it will scroll to this particular section. All right, let's import our about image. You can give it any name you wish, but make sure when tracing the address, you are accurate with the same file extension. So now let's place it here. Now let's go to the second column. We'll say heading 1 here. We'll create a span gradient text. Let's write about us, and either we're going to just write lorem, and it will generate lorem ipsum text for us. That is if you are using VS Code. Now let's add muted to here. Now let's say group. Here we're going to output y choosers. So y choosers data, look at it here. We're going to just loop through it. Let's loop through the y choosers here. Let's return a div, and let's give it a class name of flex center and group item. And also let's give it a key of index, since we are doing this on a loop, so that we have to be able to differentiate the different elements we are returning. So let's add list.title. So let's go ahead and write some styles for this. Let's open our about.css and let's select the wrapper. We're going to display it to grid, and we'll give it a grid template column of 400 and auto, which means the first column will have a width of 400 pixel, while the second column will be automatic, which means it will take any space that is remaining after the first column take its own place. If you are watching this video to this extent, I would like to congratulate you. And please guys, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel. Let's let the channel grow. All right, please just do me a favor by subscribing to the channel, and also make sure you like this video. It will not take anything from you. Just click on that thumbs up button and also write your comment on the comment section. If truly you are learning something from this tutorial, then in return, support me back by subscribing to my channel and also liking and commenting on this video. Liking the video and commenting will contribute a lot to the success of this video, because the more likes the video gets, the more distribution it will get. YouTube will distribute it more, recommend it more to people. So guys, support me by subscribing to the channel and liking the video, and also drop your comment. Thank you so much. Thank you so much in advance. And thank you as you do that right now. So let's continue with our project. So we select the group, we'll display it to the grid. We're going to give it a grid template columns of repeat 21FR, and we'll give it a gap of 30 pixel and a margin top of 40 pixel. For the background, we're going to be using BG accent. Also, let's give it a border radius of 10 pixel. The border and next padding, let's say 30 pixel. Now let's select the group item. So let's give it a width of 100% and a background of BG secondary, padding 30 pixel, and justify content of flex start. Also give it a gap of 20 pixel and border radius of 10 pixel. So transition, we give it transition variable. So on the title of the group item, the font size of 14 pixel. Also on hover, we'll change the background to BG muted, and we transform it to one. We'll scale it to 1.1 using transform. So the icon wrapper now, when we hover over group item, we want to transform the icon wrapper. We use scale 1.1, and also we change the color to foreground because by default it has the color of muted foreground. So look at it, guys. Now we need to make this responsive because as it is right now, as you can see, it is not responsive. So responsive code. Now let's say at media, we say max width of 1000 pixel. We are going to select our group item. We'll flex the direction to corner, justify the content to center, align the items to center, and we'll give it a gap of 10 pixel, just 10 pixel. We will reduce the padding to 20 pixel also. Now at 900 pixel, let's select the picture, display it to no, and also let's select wrapper. The grid template column should be 100% now. And also let's select the group and we give it a gap of 15 pixel and a padding of 20 pixel. Also justify content center. Now let's select the group item. The title will be reduce the font size, and let's take a look at it on the browser. So you can see it is now responsive. So at some point, the about image will not display anymore because we hide it at that point. So let's say text align here center. As you can see, this is fully responsive right now. Now let's go to the next section, which is services. Let's change this to section and also close with section. If you like, you can just leave it to div using div. So no need of changing to section. But I just decide to change it to section. So switch span gradient text services. Now here let's create services container. And within here we're going to loop through our services, but first we import it from the sources file. and let's look through it using map. So we say service, comma, index, and we return our service. Let's give it a key of index, icon wrapper, and let's output as service dot icon. Let's create details class, and here we use history. So within this history, I will output service dot name, and down. Let's go down and create key dot muted, and let's output service dot description. Now down here, let's create a button wrapper. So I'm going to be creating two buttons here. The first button will be read more button, and the second button will be get started button, which will take us to contact when we click on it. So let's import link from React Pro because that's what we're going to be using to create get started button. So let's say to contact, so that when a user clicks on this button, it will scroll to contact section. And also don't forget to add smooth too, so that when scrolling to contact section, it will use smooth transition. Now let's go ahead and write some CSS code. Let's open services.css and let's select services and select service container. Let's make sure everything is fine. So you see this class name is not correct, so change it. So let's display it. Now let's use the template columns. Let's repeat 3, 1FR, gap 20 pixel. And let's select the service. Give it a padding of 20 pixel, transition of transition, display flex. On hover, let's say the background should be BG secondary. And now let's type the details. Flex 1 so that it will occupy any space that is available. So for the buttons wrapper, look at it here. Let's give it a margin top of let's say 20 pixel, and this is it. So let's select this BTN and we are going to give it a background primary, BG primary. And this is it, guys. This is looking cool. Now let's make this responsive. Make it responsive. So at media, at max width of 1000 pixel, now let's select our services container and we're going to give it a grid template column of repeat to 1FR. Okay, so let's change this into grid. There's a mistake. And at 700 pixel, let's select our grid services container. Let's just copy and paste here. And let's say 100%. So look at it, it's now responsive, guys. This is responsive and awesome. Awesome. So we can now go ahead to close these two files and let's go to the next component, which is properties. So let's change this to section and also this to section, and let's give it an ID of properties. Remember that this properties ID we're given must be the same with the one we use on our tab. so that when the user clicks on properties on the tab, it will take the user to this section. Also, when scrolling, the tab will be able to activate and uh, so that users will know that I am on this particular section by seeing the active tabs. Now let's look through properties here, but let's import it from the sources file. So you can open sources file to take a look at how the properties is being structured. So let's give it a key of index, and we're going to set up here. We add our picture, the property picture, property dot image. So for the middle, here we add some details about this property. So first of all, let's add the title, and then we use clip parts too. So no matter how long the title is, on the second line, when it reaches to the end of the second line, it will replace the remaining text with three dots. That is because we use clip clamp2 class. So next, let's create the button. So here I'm going to create a row, and let's say flex center btn. So this is for bird. Uh, let's import fa bird, and let's output properties.bedrooms. Now let's just copy this and duplicate. So this will be for bathroom. You see it has been imported automatically. So let's change it to bathrooms. So here we create a button. Let's say view property. Now let's go ahead and write some CSS code. So this is how it looks like in the browser. But now when we write the CSS code, it will look beautiful. Okay, so let's open properties CSS, and let's select this ID properties. So we select our properties container, we display it grid, and we use grid template column repeat pre 1FR. Let's give it a gap of 20 pixels. Now let's select the property itself and display it to the flex. Align the items to stretch. We justify okay, the justify content is all what's it called flex start by default. So let's just leave it as it is. So the border now, border radius 10 pixel, and the background should be BG secondary. Now let's select the pictures. The picture, give it a height of 250 pixel, backflow hidden, and on a hover. Okay, let's select the image first and let's transition it. And then let's say on hover of this picture, let's remove the picture on hover of property itself. Let's transform the image to we scale it to 1.2. So middle, give it a flex of 1 so that it will occupy spaces remaining. Every spaces that is available to occupy it. So for the title, we'll give it a font size of 14 pixels, and the description. margin 10 pixels top and bottom, and 0 pixels left and right. And let's the bottom, let's give it a background of BG accent, and also a padding of 20 pixels. Now let's select the rules that is there, give it a margin bottom of 15 pixels. So as you can see, this is cool, guys, but it is not yet responsive. So let's write some responsive code. So at media, max width of let's say 1000 pixels. Let's select the properties container, and let's give it a grid template column, repeat to 1FR. So this is how it is. So on a smaller screen, let's say 700 pixel. Let's just select this and let's paste, but let's change it to 100%. And this is how it looks like right now. This is cool, guys, and very responsive. Remember, we are not making this thing animated right now. We are going to animate it when we are done creating all the components. So this is clamp 2, correct. Clamp or clamp 2, this is it. You see, no matter how long the title is, on the second line it will clamp. Now let's see agent. So here, let's get started by changing this to section, and let's give it an ID of agents. Let's create a wrapper here, and within the wrapper, let's say heading 1, span dot agents. Okay, so let's import slider from React Snake, and we are going to be using it to output our agents. Let's give it a class name of agents container. Now let's import agents from sources file, and here let's loop through it using map agents and comma index. So now let's return these components. Let's use react.fragment. So react fragment helps us to wrap this without adding extra elements. So I'll put the image here. Next, let's create history.name, and let's say agents.name here. Next, let's create the social containers for our agent social handles. So here we're going to loop through the social handles of the agents, and we output them one after the other. So let's say list.url, and let's say target, and we give it underscore blank so that when the user clicks on it, it will open on a new tab. And let's add icon wrapper. So let's say list.icon and give it a key of index so that React will be able to differentiate. Now down here, let's create buttons container that is the next the next and previous buttons container. So let's create two buttons here. The first one will be for the previous, while the second one will be for the next. So let's give it a class name of flex center btn, and let's use this icon I'm about to add, fa long arrow alt, alt left. Now let's go up here, see it, import it here. Also import the right. So let's just duplicate and let's change this one to arrow long, what's it called, fa long arrow alt right. Now let's import use ref and let's create a ref here, const ref use ref, and let's pass a null to it, and let's add the ref to our slider. So on click of the previous button, we're going to say ref.current.sneak prev is a function. So we add the bracket. So here we're going to change to next. All right. Now the next thing we're going to do now is let's create settings for our sneak slider. So settings. Let's go to let's say in finish through and speed. Let's say 500. Slide to show one. Three. I mean to say, and center mode. Let's say true. Next is the box on hover. So when our mouse is over the sneak slider component, it should pause. Autoplay speed, let's use 3000, and center pattern should be 0. Now let's add responsive. So let's add the first breakpoint. So at breakpoint 900, let's add the setting. We're going to say slides to show. Let's change it to 2. And let's copy this and let's just paste after the first one. And let's change the breakpoint to 600. And we'll change slide to show to 1. And let's come to our slider component and let's destructure the settings that we just created. Now we need to add the slider CSS. Let's come here and search for React Snake. And let's open this first link. So here you will find the documentation of React Snake. And let's click on docs. So you can see the instructions to get started, install it, and all of that. But we need this CSS. What we need here now is the CSS. We've already installed it. So let's paste it in our app, the JSS. So the reason why we're pasting it in our app, but the JSS is so that we can use it in different places. But this is not the only place we are going to use it. Now let's write some CSS code for this. So we select agent ID and let's say sneak slide. Give it a padding of 20 pixel, and profile, we'll make sure we give it the same width and height. And give it a margin of author, border, radius of 100 pixel. Then the image within, let's transition it, give it a transition variable, and when React Snake is being hovered on, let's transform the image. We'll scale it to 1.2. Next, we select the name of the agent. Just align it to center and margin, top and bottom 10 pixel, left and right 0. Now let's select the agent container. We give it a margin top of 40 pixel. Now the buttons container, we justify the content to flex end and we give it a gap of 10 pixel and also a margin top of 20 pixel. Now let's select the btn within. So background, we'll give it a bg primary. And then on hover, let's change the background. We'll give it the gradient background. We have gradient. And border color will be known. Let's take a look at it. Also, let's hide the next and previous buttons. So let's write it within our index.css so that anywhere we use React Snake, the next and previous button should be hidden. That's the default next and previous button. So you can see now the next and previous button we have is the custom one we created. And this thing is not responsive, guys. So what is the problem? We say that it should be okay. This text is not correct. Oh wait, let's refresh. Okay, because I'm not refreshed, that's why. And this is cool, guys, and very responsive. Guys, subscribe to this channel. This channel will give you a lot of value. It will help you learn modern ways of developing applications. So let's just give this a gap of 10 pixels. That is okay. And let's close this. Also close this, and let's go to the next section, which is client. And we are going to start by changing this to section, and also section this, and let's give it an ID of clients. Also remember this ID must be the same with the one we use on the tab. And let's write testimonials. So the subtitle now, let's say what our client is saying. And let's import our slider. We're going to be making use of it here. Let's give it a class name of clients container. So we create a ref. I just say new here, and let's add the ref here. Now let's go back to our previous component that we work on, which is agent. Let's copy these settings since it's almost the same with what we want to do in client. So let's just remove this responsive of a thing. Let's remove responsive, and let's change slice to show to 1. Uh, Now let's destructure the settings over here. And next, let's import clients, and let's map to it. Let's say list and index, then react.fragment. Let's give it a key of index. And let's put the profile list dot image, and the alternative will be list dot name. Now the details history dot name. Let's put list dot name. Small Mitchell, that is the position, CEO of Benvix. And next, let's create the content list dot review. And next, let's create the stars container. FA star, and let's import the star we are using from React icons. Once again, if you want to search for more stars, you can go to React icon website and search for any icon of your choice. So we copy the buttons container from the previous component we created to here, and now this is what we have. Now let's write some CSS code. So we enter into client and we select client container. Let's give it a margin top of 20 pixel. Also, let's select the strict sneak track and we display it to be flex, and we add important so that whatever style it is occupying before, this one will override. So we're making sure that the sneak slide we have the same height with the sneak track, which is its parent. The border, that's a solid 0.5 pixel, then border primary. Align item stretch, flex direction, column, and transition. Let's give it transition class. BG muted. So the direct child, the direct child of uh, sneak slide is always div. So we selected that and we're making sure that it's also uh, filling the whole height of its parent, which is sneak slide. You can open the browser, go to inspect, and inspect all of these classes that we're making use of here. Like sneak slide, you never saw me wrote a class called sneak slide, but we're making use of it here. That is because the sneak package that we made use of contains that. So open your browser, go to inspect, go to the HTML section and inspect and see the different classes that Sneak make use of. Stars container, let's display it to be flex, give it a line, and to center and gap of 10 pixels. Also color should be warning and buttons container. We justify the content to flex end and a gap of 10 pixels. Also margin top of 20 pixels. And when the button, let's select the button, give it a BG primary, and when it's being hovered on, we change the background to a gradient color. So let's take a look at it. Okay, this thing is still not aligned well, which means we need to make some changes on this card. So let's go back to the code and make those changes. So here, all right. Okay, so this first flex, okay, this content and the stars container is not supposed to be here. So let's move it out and place it here. Okay, so this is okay, right? This is awesome now. This is good. And also, this is stars container, not just star. Wow, guys, this is sneak. As you can see, it is fully responsive. Now let's close these two files since we are done with them, and let's go to contact. So here on the contact, we'll start by changing this to section. So if you like, you make use of section or you just leave it as it is. Let's give it an ID of contact, and let's create a wrapper. And within the wrapper, let's create contact form. So let's change the second to middle and the last to bottom. So on the top now, let's create h1.title, and let's just write something here. But before then, let's place what we write within gradient text. Join forces with us. And let's create paragraph here. Let's just write this text. You can choose, you can change the text to anything you wish. You can copy a text and write, and just place it here. But I just decided to write this text here. It's as straightforward as that. Now we are going to create an input here. So within this row, we'll create two inputs. So the first input we're creating right now is for the first name, while the second is for the last name. So let's copy and paste. Now let's copy this first row and let's paste it down. And let's change this one to email address, and let's change the name to email. Now while the second one will be for the phone number, let's write phone number here and also change the name to phone. Now after this, let's create a text area, the name of message, and let's give it colors of 30 and rows of 10. Also, let's give it a placeholder of message and a class name of control. Now at the bottom, let's create a submit button. Send now. So we are good to go. Let's write some CSS code for this. So we select the contact and we select contact form. Let's give it padding of 40 pixel, border radius of 10 pixel. Now let's select the title and give it a font size of 40 pixel. So the row will justify the content to space between. We have already displayed flex because we added a flex class to it. So we're making sure that our control looks very nice. So remember, all our input has a class name of control, including the text area, which means any style I'm writing in this control right now, we apply both to the input and to the text area. So let's add a transition and a border solid to pixel border primary. Now I'll add a resize so that the text area will not resize. So the resize, the value is known, which means the text area will not be able to resize. Now on focus of any control, let's change the border color to primary. So whatever be the primary color will be the border color of our control when it is on focus. So width 100%, max width. So let's take a look. So this is how it looks like. This is cool, guys. So this our button is supposed to be at the center. Um, let's go back and let's add flex center to it, to the button. Flex center. So we move the button to the center, and as you can see, it is responsive. Now let's close this file and open the last one, which is footer. So we give it an ID of footer, and let's create a wrapper, and let me create a contact options. So here we're going to map to our contact options. So I'm going to map to it here using map, and let's say option, comma, index, then let's return a component. Option, then key index. So option.icon, title, then let's say option.title. Also dot value, and let's output option.value here. And let's let's go down here. Let's create bottom row, and let's create a wrapper. So I'm going to import a footer image. So I want to add a footer image here. So this is the image we want to import. Look at it here. So make sure the trace is correct and the image extension is correct. So I'm going to create an img here, but within footer image container, and let's import logo also, and let's add it here. Now let's import social handles, and let's also add it after our footer image. Now we are going to add other columns, but then we're going to be adding the column inside a loop. So let's import footer. So while we are looping this footer, what we'll be returning is a column, more columns. So column, let's give it a key of index. So here we output the title, list the title, and also there are routes within our list. So let's map to it also. Routes, comma I, and let's return a component. So we'll be creating it with link. So we import link from React scroll. So within, let's output the route name. Now let's pass some props to our link. So first of all, let's give it a key so that it will be unique since we are returning this in an array, within an array. So let's say route.id. So this contains the same ID with the one we have in the tab. So always remember to add smooth through so that when the user clicks on it and when it's scrolling to whatever section you clicked on, it will use smooth transition. So here let's create the copy, right? 2024. Then muted, built with love by Emmanuel Eze Adinubo, aka Mr. Adinuba. So let's write some CSS code. Look at how it looks like. So let's write some CSS code so that it will look good. So we go in with this ID footer. So we first of all style our contact options. We display it grid. We use grid template columns repeats 3 1 FR. We give it a gap 20 pixel and options. Padding 20 pixel and border radius of 10 pixel. Flex direction column. Transition. Um, on hover, let's transform it to scale 0.98. So the icon wrapper, let's give it a width of 4 rem and a height of 4 rem. So let's make sure that it always maintains the same width and height by specifying the minimum and maximum width and height. We are making use of 4 rem because we want to create a perfect cycle. Each time we want to create a perfect cycle, the width and height of that element must be the same, else it will not be a perfect cycle. So the value font size 15 pixel, and look at how it is right now. So let's go ahead and style the buttons row. So give it a background of BG accent, and let's select the wrapper within, and we display it to the grid, and we use grid template column. Then we say repeat 4, comma whenever. Now let's go ahead and select the footer image. Let's give it a width of 130 pixel, and let's give it a position of relative. So we want to add a shadow on the bottom of our footer image. So this code we are writing currently will do that job for us, just like we did on the hero image. Then BG primer accent, because the background of our uh, bottom blue is BG accent. Transition, and on hover, let's select this route and let's add hover. So we'll change the color to primary. Now let's keep on moving. So our copy right now, let's give it a flex direction of column. Look at it here. Let's give it a flex center. So flex direction here is column, and we give it padding. Top padding is 0, right is 20 pixel, bottom is 50 pixel, and left is 20 pixel. So text align center, and look at it. This is cool, guys. Let's check Let's inspect it. As you can see, it is not responsive, and therefore we have to make it responsive. So let's say at media, then max width of 800 pixel. Let's copy this, and let's say the grid template column should be repeat 21FR. All right, so let's select the option. Now the third child, we'll give it, we'll span the column to 2. So it was occupy 2 columns instead of occupying 1. So the wrapper within our bottom row, we'll give it grid template column of repeats 21FR. Also at 500, I think at this point we need to make everything to be 100%. So grid template column 100%. And let's copy this. Let's revert the grid columns to span 1. And let's select bottom row, then the wrapper within it, then the first column we display it flat and we justify the content to center, align the items also to center with place direction of column. Now let's go ahead and select this, and we give it a grid template column of 100% and a gap of 40 pixels. We are almost coming to an end of this tutorial. After we finish the styling of this footer, the next thing is just to animate the different components we have. So as you can see, the footer is responsive and we are almost done creating all the components. So the next step is to animate it. So we'll start the animation from the hero section. All right. So here we're going to be making use of a package called AOS. So this is it. This is it here. Let's click on this one. And you can read about this package here. You can get all the information. So what we need to do right now is to initialize it in our application. So to initialize this, we just need to import it and make use of it. We have already installed it already. So let's import AOS from AOS. All right. Now I'm going to import use effect. I will initialize it within a use effect. So now let's open this callback function. But before then, let's import the AOS CSS. Guys, you need to import the AOS CSS file before you can make use of it. If not, it will not work. So let's say aos.init. So let's pass some configuration. So we want the duration to take 500 and also the easing. We'll use ease in sign. All right. So if you scroll down, you will see a couple of options of AOS that you can make use of. So let's make use of, let's open the hero section and let's say, for example, let's use this first one. We'll write data dash AOS. Now let's say fade up. So I mean that when this thing is loading, it should display fading up. As you can see, it fades up. All right. Let's copy this and let's paste it on the description here. And let's take a look at it. You see, but then two of them are coming at the same time. Let's use delay to delay it from coming up at the same time. All right. So say data AOS delay. Let me increase the delay of this to 200. So let's see. Can you see? it's delay a little bit before coming out. And let's copy this one also, and let's paste it on the button. So here, let's also add a delay to it. So let's increase the number to 1200, and let's also use offsets on it, because without this offset, it will make us to scroll before it will show. So let's say 50 offset will be okay. And let's copy it and paste on the second one. Let's change the delay of the second one to 1500. And let's refresh and see how this thing works. Can you see that? Now, the next we're going to animate is the image, the hero image. So let's just copy that. Let's copy both the delay and paste on the hero image. And let's refresh. Can you see that? So next one is, let's go into the achievement. So here we're going to animate the achievement. So we have three cards within achievement. So let me just copy this and let's paste it. Starting from the first card, let's say fade right, and let's change the delay to 1000 here. Copy it, paste it here. Let's reduce the delay to 800, and let's go to the next one, which is the last. Let's reduce it to 600. And guys, let's take a look at it. Can you see that? This is cool, guys. This is cool. This is cool. All right. So now let's go to about. Let's go to about and animate it. You see, using AOS is very, very simple. It's very, very simple. So, guys, there are more informations on the documentation. As you can see, I just copied from the other place and pasting it here. Just locate the same place you see me paste, and also paste and edit. Okay, so let's paste here also, and I think this is okay. Let's refresh. Let's scroll up and let's go. Correct, correct, guys. Now, let's go to the next one, which is services. So we don't have much to do here. We just paste here and also paste on the service card. Let's change this one to fade left, and let's refresh. So each time you make changes, guys, make sure you refresh. So now let's go to the next one, which is properties. So we paste here, and also on our property cards, let's paste. Let's change it to fade up. And guys, look at it. Wow. So let's go to the next component, which is agents. So let's paste it here, and let's say feed left, and here wrap uh let's wrap our slider within this. Let's wrap our slider. Let's just copy it, delete, and paste it within this div that we just created. Make sure we move it inside, and let's refresh. Wow. So that is that. We don't have much here, so let's just go to the next one, which is clients. And data AOS page left. So let's copy here, and let's create a okay, let's paste it here also, and let's add a delay to this. Let's say 400. Now let's copy our slider, and we delete it from here, then we paste it within the div, the animated div we created. Okay, and this is working fine, guys. So let's go back to and let's animate our contact. So here we don't have much. So see data AOS. We're going to say fade zoom in. Let's refresh. So whenever we are scrolling to this, it will zoom in. So here we just have to animate this contact, these options. I mean to say. So we can see fade right, and wow, this is awesome, guys. This is awesome. Okay, so let's go to the navbar. We need to do one more thing there. So let's just add first here. Okay, correct. So that it will not be displaying the overlay. So that you can see it is responsive. Guys, this is the end of this project video. Thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and also give this video a thumbs up. See you in the next video. Bye.